All right, you guys, so remember, goats are browsers and not grazers. So grass is part of their diet for sure, and they can live well on grass hay. But if they have their druthers, they would rather have 20 selections of different plants to eat, because they eat based on ripeness, they eat based on nutrition, they balance their phosphorus and calcium with it. They're very intuitive in how they feed themselves. They give themselves what they need. This is an example of a planting that we did now 2 years ago, intentional goat forage, and it's working out well. I am bummed that you're seeing it right now, because we just spread compost and kind of beat everything up, so it's not looking so great. But we really needed to get compost on this. This hadn't had a good layer, and so we got that spread. But regardless of that, remember, so I did a video that got a jillion views talking about stomach worm and how you want to rotate your pastures every 20 days. That is the recommendation, and that is accurate in the life cycle of the stomach worm, that they deposited it on the ground, it climbs, climbs up the stalk, and that cycle takes 20 days to be re-eaten, and they're going to begin re-ingesting their own larva. But if you let that field rest for another 20 days, then you kill off all that larva, and then you can re-forage on that. And so just remember that's accurate. But the contingency to that is that stomach worm thrives in lots of water, in how you're watering, or it's getting watered if you live in a wet climate. So one of the things that I would say that we changed this year, actually last year, in lieu of this, is that in terms of growing plants, you create a strong plant when it has to kind of fight for its water. But if you just water it every single day for a few minutes, that root structure, and especially these deep rooting, foraging goat, things like forage chicory and the things that we have out here, some of these are extremely deep rooting, and you're going to promote deep roots, which then keeps them green longer with less water, by watering spacing time, so like every 3 days. So we went to a 3-a-day watering system, and the reason we did that is because when we were watering every day or close to every day, what would end up happening is that we were keeping our fields wet, that then promotes stomach worms. So that's the caveat. The caveat to my advice is, it's way worse if you're super damp in your pasture versus if you're dry. So allow your pasture to dry out. Allow your plants to go down and get the nutrition that they need. Now, on our ranch, we have this huge creek bottom that's loaded with the forage that goats really love. Things like leaves and shrubs, and there's blackberries in there, and there's apples in there. And so our creek bottom is beautiful, but we can only put them in it so long, and we have the wetting space that we're trying to protect from them and kind of letting the forest be natural, but we're still trying to eat those blackberries, because those blackberries could take over that creek bottom so fast, and they're vicious. And so what we're doing with the goats now is we're doing a shepherding strategy. When you take a smaller number of goats, it's very possible to go in and not have to fence it, but to shepherd them, and to be there with them for an hour, let them rack it up, bring them in, then 2 days later, let them rack it up again, whatever it is. But goats are really fun to watch forage. It's enjoyable. It's a nice thing to sit and watch goats eat, and how they eat, and how they eat the different plants. So we're going to use, and I'll try to report back to you, a shepherding strategy in the creek bottom with 5 or 6 does, and go in there and try to concentratedly graze with shepherding on some plants that we're trying to kick back without doing kind of the damage to the overall forest. So I wanted to share with you kind of some of the grazing strategies and the things that are thinking about or worth thinking about. Now, if you have an all grass pasture, like a lot of people do, one of the things that I would entertain is just like a reseeding, where you go in, you don't have to eliminate your grass, but you need to go in and create plants that can compete, and go in and get them a good soil base and go ahead and plant them in amongst the grass. And I see a lot of people do that, and that can work very well. But to go ahead and till up the ground, that puts a piece of ground back by almost 100 years in terms of its microbiome and all of how it works. So I recommend really just kind of scratching the surface, putting some seeds in, reseeding over the years, and you'll get some success. So I hope you find that information helpful. I think that's it. Marc Warnke, Goat Guy, signing out.